Welcome to another Zen Rose Garden Pro Tip series. Coming up in this video, Underactive Third Eye Chakra and blocked third eye chakra symptoms. Is your third eye blocked? Maybe broken? Are you even opening it right? What does it mean when your third eye is underactive?
So this is part of our third eye playlist, how to grow your third eye. Science-y.
And if you watch the whole playlist, we'll show you some new science that will blow your third eye blind.
This is the opposite of what you're trying to do. I'm Heather.
And I'm David.
I'm Zen Rose Garden. YouTube is where we give some free pro tips and tell you about our signature membership community, Zen Ed Academy, where we go much deeper with our students, where we teach all our stuff.
Much deeper.
Yes.
In order to find your tribe, you have to
stop following the herd, start thinking for yourself, and looking deeper to crack the code.
All right, Zen heads, it is time to tag up. For all of our Zen heads in Zen Ed Academy, let us know that you're here with a hashtag ZenHead for life.
And if you're watching live, give us a hashtag live tribe.
And if you're watching on the replay, give us a hashtag replay fam.
You didn't do this.
Replay.
People they wait for that every day, David. They wait for that.
Replay.
This is the third video in this series on how to grow the third eye. And so we decided to do this series for our hashtag YouTube fam because we get so many questions about it. But regardless, like we said, the brain is the starting point.
This whole week, we're going to talk about different parts of the brain that activate during the classic mystic experience or an intuitive, empathic, or psychic experience.
So does underactive even mean what you think it means when it comes to the third eye? That's what we're putting on the table today.
So now that we have totally flipped that pancake over, we want to know.
Have you ever had an experience, or you feel like this now, where you were in total doubt that you even had intuition or basic instincts? Did you feel like you were so shut down, shut off, and disconnected?
That's a totally different movie.
Yeah. So
who runs this matrix people say we live in? Light circulates. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question.
That's a great question for the tribe.
Yeah, I want everybody to go in and chime in on that response or that comment from Light Circulates.
Ooh,
let's kind of run a global. Yeah, let's run a little global thing. Who runs this matrix?
Can I throw in my 2 cents on that? We do. So
we run your matrix.
No, we run this matrix.
I run my matrix.
We all run our own matrices.
Hive mind. All
Hive
right.
mind. See, I believe that.
Keep them coming. I want to hear some group consensus.
What I love about that question is not tomorrow, but I think Saturday, the next number 6.
Sometime during this playlist.
We're actually going to talk about that question because there's a part of your mind that perceives that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So first, let's talk about underactive third eye. But first we want to talk about rational, hyper logical people.
I see these people sometimes online talking about that there is no mystic experience and it's all in your head. Well, technically it is in your head, right? But so is logic. Duh. Actually, all of life is in your head, right?
So your life is where your brain is
where you make it.
Your brain is where you perceive life. So here is why though. In the last video, we talked about the limbic system of the brain, where feelings and emotions kind of arise from, often throwing us off our rockers. And this part of the brain still plays a role in the underactive third eye, just like it did on the overactive, but just more on the flip side of what we talked about in the last video.
And when you've got the defenses up, you'll get about as far as maybe a song popping into your head right before it plays on the radio.
When you're not paying attention.
But before you can acknowledge it, that damn limbic system gets all up in you and sends out an ignore signal, shuts it down, goes numb before you can connect the dots. And then the frontal part of the brain that deals with logic kicks in and talks you out of any possibility that it was anything other than silly coincidence.
So you never get a chance to even start growing the connection with your third eye in those parts of the brain. So
because that cock block and limbic system is all up in the mix.
So guess where those are? The frontal lobe up here, where your logic is like in the front because it's the frontal lobe, and the limbic system is in the back. So you got the third eye here in the middle, and they're like.
I think we need to make like little helmets.
I should really have
with an extra limbic and a. Yeah.
No, we don't. But we do need a model of the brain here. So here we go. Here's my model of the brain. When the third eye, as we call it in a symbolic sense,
Right.
okay, is underactive or even closed,
Mhm.
we are closed. And I say closed because they can never really be closed unless we are dead.
Right.
We are toggling between shutdown and hyperlogic. Okay, that's what's happening when it's underactive.
Right. For whatever reason, we don't want to engage in the mystery because the mind, for whatever reason, believes that it's some scary lion coming to eat you.
So remember from the last video how we talked about the fear center, the limbic system reacts in under a second before you've even consciously are aware that it's shutting down. It will react in under a second if you have a stored fear to shut down anything that it doesn't want to partake in.
That is what it is going to do. It is doing its job. That is what it is designed to do, to protect you from pain and from threats.
And if it is underactive, some part of your subconscious does not in any way want to go into the fields of connection for some reason.
Whatever that reason is.
So remember how the overactive chakra, the limbic system, is overstimulated and it's like ding, 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 connect, 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 connect. So it's over connecting. This is the opposite of that.
It's underconnecting, but both ways are still protecting you from whatever those perceived threats are. Before we continue, I wanted to touch on a couple. Let's see, we got Chandra says hive mind. Jasmine says we run our own. We're talking about who runs this matrix people say that we live in. Omar says the creator, and Chandra says our thoughts program the morphogenic field.
I think you're all right.
Yes.
I think every single one of you is right.
Whatever belief that you hold to, you are right.
But that's the thing about that question is that is the mystery that's outside of all of this. Like, because we can understand the functions of the brain and our connections in a mystic sense. And then in a philosophic sense, we can understand it in a psychological sense, but like the subconscious, conscious mind.
Right.
We can even understand it now in this day and age on a brain science sense, on a neurosense, which is what we're talking about. But outside of that, is the great mystery,
is
right?
The who knows.
So, and that it's okay that we don't know all the answers to that.
I don't think that anybody is necessarily wrong. And I don't think that anybody is wholeheartedly correct in everything, because if you get to either extreme of being absolutely wrong or absolutely right, if you're on the absolutes, you're not growing.
And here's an interesting little side note. Neuroscientists have found that the healthiest brains maintain enough of a fantasy or an idea about the nature of the universe. Because if you have that question, it's always active and it's always working subconsciously to try to figure it out.
And you're always seeking.
And those that have a definite answer of it's this way, the earth was created in 7 days, and this is it's really, really rigid, your brain actually stops growing.
It starts to decay even.
So,
and this is neuroscience. We're not just talking out of our butts. No, it's actual neuroscience. If you don't engage your mind in that play, that mystical experience, that curiosity, then it starts to decay. So it stops growing and then starts decaying.
So it's kind of beautiful. So let's talk about the third eye underactivity.
When a third eye is underactive, one underlying emotion that maybe the culprit is just self-doubt.
So let's clarify underactive for a moment. Okay, we talk about it as being blocked, as being broken, numb, out of balance. There's a blockage.
Right. Maybe it's crusty and calcified, a useless, non-working piece of rainbow poop.
Any of those things we use, or we just don't have a third eye because we're not a special person.
My third eye is always blind.
And that's the thing. I think a lot of people come up against the imposter syndrome of I'm just broken. I'm not a special, magical, mystical being. So
we're going to break your noodle here.
Unless you have brain damage.
Or you are dead.
The part of your brain that processes intuition and mystic information works just fine.
Yep.
It's just that other parts of the brain are working harder and doing a complicated dance like, don't look over there, to get you to not pay attention to it. Right?
Look over there, rabbit.
It's like, don't look over here, don't look over here. Here's your intuition, don't look at it.
Squirrel.
Yeah, that's what it does. It's like me and David when we haven't had enough food. So these two kind of needy brain parts, which are not always needy, just like when there's a fear, they become really needy, that are working overtime are the frontal lobe, where logic and reason rule, and the limbic system.
Again? Damn you, Salazar.
It gets in the way, right? Where the hidden fears of self-doubt and insecures are running amok.
Who got the fairies drunk again?
I honestly thought you were going to say amok, but you didn't.
Amok.
Okay,
Who got the fairies drunk again?
No, I'm satisfied. So this leads you to believe it is not working right.
Right. and that you somehow aren't special enough and you're broken. But that is just your logic brain and your limbic system working together to try to protect you from something. Usually this is more of a social fear of some kind, like maybe a rejection stemming from some childhood upset or some situation where you felt rejected because you were different or weird.
And here's the thing, with working with clients for 11 years, training them officially, right? Usually when this kind of an issue comes up with a client, they're like, should I eat more spinach? Should I do this? Should I decalcify this? Should I do ayahuasca? And like, let's just work on what's going on in your brain first.
Let's address the fears first.
99 times out of 10, or whatever the percentage is, that's really
99.9 times out of 10.
We'll get to a block that's really just some sort of stored fear. Boom. It releases, and boom, you're opens.
Yep. Misty says, my fairies are definitely drunk.
My fairies often get drunk. So
and hide in the selenite. And so tomorrow we're going to be talking about exactly what those parts of the brain are and how to start to build the bridge. It will be so good to hear it.
That's cute, David. But really, it's not.
I got that from Savannah.
It's not as hard as you think. Yeah. Anybody remember that? Let's go.
It's so good to hear it.
Well, next year for my party invitation, I'm going to send out Shvithi 5 because that will be.
Cheryl says, late to the party, and the first word I heard was ayahuasca. Love this. Hashtag live tribe. All right.
You know that I have never personally done ayahuasca because I have a really low serotonin level and blood sugar. So
it's probably a bad thing for her.
I will seizure if I. So what makes self-doubt problematic is that it is the number one thing that can blind your third eye, right?
Can you say true third eye blinding?
Told you those jokes weren't over.
Second third eye joke of the blinded day.
It was actually the same joke twice.
Yes.
But what is interesting is that with overactive, here's the part I want you to know about. With overactive third eye people, we talked about in the last video, you tend to have people who get more lost in the mystical and often superstition, fear of demons, old religious fears. Simply, they do not have enough of the logic and rationalization going on.
Right.
So this part's really not active enough, right?
Because they are living deep in the mystic and often perpetuate their own fear cycle because they're basically avoiding, but they're avoiding into the mystic, but that's where all their fears are living anyway. They can feel really misunderstood and outcast.
And that kind of goes back to the question about the matrix, about who's running the matrix. And so when you get hyper into that space, you're like, your logic is not, you're not thinking straight. But with the underactive.
Before we get to the underactive, I want to ask Light Circulates to chime in. Who do you believe runs this matrix that people say that we live in? Everybody else has chimed in. I want to hear what you what you say. Cheryl says seizures suck. Wouldn't encourage it, Heather, but plant medicine is so powerful for reframing trauma.
Yeah.
Yes, but I will say, having done different crazy things in my life that I'm not at liberty to discuss, Heather lives in that state. I've had to do different things to open that state personally. So yeah, I understand that it is extremely powerful.
Yeah, I have a different kind of brain chemistry.
She does.
It's not weird or alien or anything. It's just a chemical thing that happens. But what's cool about that is that it does kind of keep me a little bit in
that state. Yeah. So with the underactive third eye people, you may have people who are logical with some self-doubt, or maybe they are hyper logical or hyper rational.
So you can see both of them in the underactive.
Right. And this is on the other side of the pendulum swing. They either totally deny that anything exists, or they want to connect to it really badly, but for some subconscious reason, they have a fear that keeps shutting it down.
So I think both of those groups are crippled a little bit with their intuition, their ability to tap into that feel good of the mystical.
They've lost the play.
You know, I think both of them have. And I think that tends to be the thing, right? Because if you're hyper logical, rational, there is no such thing. This does not exist.
Right.
They're not looking outside of their single-minded focus.
Right.
And the ones that really want to connect because they know it's there and they've been around it. They just don't. Imposter syndrome might be at play.
Right. So neither group is actively growing the most important part of the brain that has to do with the strongest and the most sophisticated part of the third eye.
Because like we've been saying in these videos, the third eye is active in different parts of the brain at different times, depending on what part of the psychic senses you are activating. And that balanced place is what we are going to talk about in the next video. That's going to be the big one of the series.
Series is super secret, special science stuff that you don't want to miss.
I love this topic. So everybody is looking for the magical quick opener,
right?
Especially if they can't seem to get any third eye action up in there.
From the back section.
Oh. So with the overactive third eye we talked about yesterday, or in the last video, whenever you're joining us, we have somehow overly stimulated the limbic system and it is stuck there somehow.
And that would be akin to what we consider to be the normal fight or flight situation. It's just gotten stuck.
Right. And with the underactive third eye, the limbic system is more in a play dead fight or flight response. So it's still freaking out. It's just acting differently.
So it's shutting down the connection because your self-doubt is getting in the way.
Yeah. And self-doubt is just the tip of the iceberg to a root fear that is very efficiently programmed somewhere back there. Okay.
Back there. Back there. So how do you get these parts of the mind to work together and break the cycle? In a simple way: contemplation, observing, and evaluating reactions, and working on your demons. Anybody say jazzercise?
I think that could work for losing the fat on your butt. So more on that Thursday. But we do find that when you understand the function of the mystical parts of the brain, it becomes a hell of a lot easier to access it. Right. And in our day and age, we're living in a time where we actually do know how this stuff works on a chemical, sciencey level.
Right.
Because as much as mystics go, science is, you know, they're not believing in this stuff. There's a lot of scientists that are exploring this stuff.
Right.
And showing exactly what parts of the brain are firing when you tap in.
Especially with the advances in neuroscience. So you just have to strip away the old superstitious mumbo jumbo, grow your brain, chill out, and tap in. Oh, Cheryl, would you relate some underactivity to a damaged or shrunken hippocampus? I have read that this happens when low-grade fight or flight is sustained for long periods of time.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
Any time where you've got something that's in that low-grade state of fight or flight for a prolonged period of time, what you're doing is you're basically creating damage to your brain, even if it includes damaged or shrunken the hippocampus.
Well, when you're in a low-grade state of fight for a long time, there's anger and fear are happening. So you've got a slow dumping of neurotoxins, neurochemicals that are not good for you, that are constantly being dumped into that frontal part of your brain that rules logic and reason. So you got a whole bunch of stuff that can happen. It can either like shut down or it can open up. So we'll talk more about that in the next video as far as that part of your brain to keep healthy. Right. That is the big adjunction of where most of the third eye stuff fires.
And Misty says, what do you do if you're scared of seeing the scary dead? Freaked me out the last time it happened in July. I would honestly say reach out to us and see if there's something that we can do to kind of help you work through that personally.
And the short answer is know that you are perfectly safe.
Yeah.
That the scary dead is the scary dead, and they may not be as scary as you think. Like we talked about yesterday, a lot of times those reactions come from a fear that gets triggered in less than a second.
Yeah, and that might be the fear in your brain.
We've already assigned it a value almost before we even process that we've seen it.
Yes.
So, yeah, because I grew up seeing all kinds of scary things. Now I'm like, are you okay? You got like a knife sticking out of your head. Do you need some help?
Right. Or you're wearing a costume.
It has to do with, working on the reactions. Because nothing can really hurt you in reality.
Right. So what I want to say on that is when we're talking about scary dead, when we're talking about the big scaries that come at you or whatever, what we find is most of the time that's a costume. And even if it's not, even if in your mind you just perceive it as a costume, it helps you to get past the fear faster, to give you enough breathing room to go, okay, I see that you're here. You want me to believe that you look scary. Maybe that's a part of your story. Okay. Most often these are a part of their story. And the fastest way for them to tell you their story is to show you or let you feel it.
So light circulates. I love your how your brain works. I think I don't know if you're he or she, but I think it's partly us, but also an
entity or entities that want to stop us connecting with our higher selves.
Okay.
It's just strange how the news is constantly trying to lower your vibration, and death is seen as such a bad thing. Like after that, it's over.
I think like, I only have so much energy for my life. So I like to focus on the positive and what I my exploration of what is, and
Mhm.
also realizing that people that are out there in the news and all that, they're living in their own fears,
Right.
and they're not necessarily trying to do anything super negative. It's just that they're dumping it out sort of like zombies. They don't really,
Right.
they're
And
just like bleeding their shit out and it's up to you to kind of disconnect and go, I'm going to create my own matrix.
And that's the thing that I want to say is that if you are responsible for creating your own element of your own matrix, where do you want to continue giving your power to?
Well, also always remember that love is stronger than fear.
Yes.
And a lot of the things that we see out there are just coming from fear. And when you choose to create your own space in love and happiness and
Mhm.
joy and surround yourself with people that are also joyful, that's infinitely more powerful than
Right.
any of this shit around you.
Mhm.
And that creates a tipping point. And joy is so contagious. It is
Yes.
very, very contagious.
So when you have these two monsters inside of you, these two wolves inside of you, which one do you feed? Because that is the one that is going to win.
Yeah. So do it, guys. That's what we're here for.
Mona, good to see you. She says agreed. Cheryl says my son Noah just sat next to
Noah.
me and he wants to say hi. Hey Noah, good to see you.
Noah. I love that's a cute name.
And Misty
It's a super
says, thank
cute
you
name.
guys. You make all of this so much more bite-sized. So again, on Thursday, we're going to be giving you some real tips on how to grow your mystical brain. Okay. Like how to literally grow your brain. We're going to be getting into that on Thursday. It is your brain. It's how it works. Be sure to join us as we nerd out with the mystical third eye meets neuroscience.
We will be back to chop it up with our hashtag YouTube fam faster than 2 shakes of a unicorn's tail. And no, we will not be giving you kale salad recipes, Misty.
That is not the secret to growing your third eye.
It's good for you, but if you don't like it, you don't like it. Spinach after he's pooped rainbow frosting on your carpet.
Spinach after he's pooped rainbow frosting. Check out the link below for Zen Academy. If you liked this video, hit that like button 5 times. Just kidding. Once is enough. Right down there. So for more live hangouts, mind hacking pro tips.
All day.
It's a new one.
All day. Be sure to subscribe.
And clickety-click the bell to turn notifications on.
So you're the first to know
when we drop a new video.
Or go live.
And we know that time is a valuable and precious resource, and the fact that you guys have chosen to spend that with us, we honor and appreciate that. All up inside our crazy dome pieces. But most importantly, that you're here to level up your skills and take your life and your business to a whole new level, building your mind, growing it literally. We appreciate that even more. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Over there, or over there.
It's like really close to my eyeball.
It's supposed to be.
We'll see you guys later.